Hi guys, Piotr here, this is LiteFinance Global YouTube channel. As usual, it's my pleasure to be with you. Today we are going to discuss if it's possible. I would say, spoiler, I would say of course it is. It is possible to scalp the small account, and the thing is that if you cannot scalp the small account, how would you like to scalp the big account? So we are going to discuss the best method in my opinion. Do your own research, do your own homework as usual. With that being said, let's jump straight into the video. All right, we were discussing quite a few scalping strategies when it comes to the small account. I think if you are a beginner, then of course hundreds of tests is needed. If you are more advanced, then you are going to know the stuff. In my opinion, the easiest we can get it, that's the better. And that's what we are going to talk about today when it comes to the scalping small account. Of course, proper money management is needed. Well, you might think that, okay, if I have, let's say, I'm shooting, right? If you have $500 account and you are going to implement proper money management when it comes to the scalping, then you are not gonna to earn that much, right? The thing is that if you are able to manage this type of the account, so if your account is going to grow over time, you are going to be able to properly manage the bigger amount of the money. So that's from the proper money management. When it comes to the strategy, it's based on the stop count. I like the horizontal lines, you know it, and there are two ways of the scalping. When we are within the range market, right? If that's the range, then we wanna scalp the high to the short side and the low to the long side, right? That's how it works with the ranging market. For the beginners, if we are within the rising market, right, we wanna look for the stop count to the downside with a quick reversal, and we wanna still scalp to the upside. All right, if we are falling, okay, if we are falling, then you want to see the rallies into the stop liquidity levels, and then you want to jump in and follow the move to the downside. All right, for the more advanced, of course, if you have significant levels, you may want to scalp both sides. What I mean by significant levels? Well, for myself, I do on the 1 minute and 3 minute chart the scalp. You may try to 5 minutes, but your analysis has to be done based on the higher time frame. So in that case, let's have a look what we have. That's the euro dollar, and we know that we have some low in place around here, right? And that's the daily chart, so let's make it a little bit more visible, clearer, right? So we know where we are to the downside. When it comes to the upside on the daily chart, some significant levels are a little bit higher. Then we are switching lower, especially if we are not very close to the big levels from the daily chart and still we want to do something, then we might want to switch to the 4-hour chart, and we might look for some significant local levels. In that case, a few of them are here. So I'm going to place few lines here, all right, and I'm going to explain why these lines are here just for yourself. All right, so let me place few lines first. As you can see from here, right, we took out the local high, we took out the previous high, so that was a quite significant level to watch. And once we break below, there was an attempt to go higher, that was the rejection, all right, with the overall bigger picture move to the downside, where you were looking for possibility to join the party to the downside with this method. Of course, if we had a significant green line from the daily chart, right, there are some levels you were looking for from the scalping perspective to try to be in and trade to the downside. Of course, if you were looking for this type of the move over here, some kind of the V formation, right? So you were looking for the significant developments short term to the upside, especially taking into the consideration that usually if we are taking out one range to the opposite side, right, it might be that we are going to double that range to the opposite side, and that's exactly what happened. This type of the stuff you can use trying to predict eventually the reversal. Anyway, that's another over here, and let's have a look what we have, and that's another level because of this consolidation over here, right, and trying to watch what is going on. That's the 50%, right, because that was the full pullback, and that's the 50%. So we are exactly where we are. But of course, you may wanna go lower, and you may wanna see the things of the, for example, double bottom. Then we might put some swing low here line. All right, we might put another rally over here, taking this upper shadows and another line. So there are plenty of possibilities to try to, right, scalp both sides. So finally, let's have a look what we have to the downside, and let's try to discuss, especially based on what we've seen today. I'm going to place at the top of this 50%, I'm going to place instead of this big orange color over here, I'm going to place 50% line. All right, so let's make the FIB. Okay, that was the consolidation, and that's the 50% more or less over here. Okay, so we got everything. Let's switch lower, and let's have a look step by step. Let's have a look what we've seen today. First and foremost, I like to trade, that's gonna be your first filter. I like to trade late Tokyo, beginning of Europe, then mid Europe, beginning of late Europe, beginning of New York, late Europe, beginning of New York, sorry, and then London fix. All right. So that's, as you can see, that was the late Tokyo, late Japan, beginning of the European session. And what was very, very important based on the overall Tokyo session, the spike over here, which been rejected. So as you can see, we perfectly place the yellow line over here, and as you can see, there was an attempt to go higher. So we were looking for what? We were looking for stops where, from the intraday perspective, there was a possibility that we can try to look for the stop count. Well, on the initial pullback over here before we went higher, right? So there was some kind of the possible liquidity over here. But also, as you can see to the upside, we have this 50% of that previous from the higher time frame of that previous range, and market was looking for liquidity here as well, but we didn't quite get there yet. All right, so I wouldn't scalp this one. So that was the perfect example of, for example, today's trade. Let's have a look more. Let's try to look for more examples, and especially when it comes to some kind of the activity from the few previous days. All right, so as I mentioned, I like to look for the stop count, and maybe the direction was to the downside, but because of what we've seen from higher time frame, right, this market activity over here was quite significant, right? So the question is if there was any possibility to try to jump the pari. Unfortunately, not in this particular example, because it was the Tokyo session, so I'm not going to make it, you know, uninformative for you. But with this type approach, if it's going to happen for you the beginning of European or New York session closer to the London fix, that's the level you wanna to try to jump into the pari. Few more examples of the possible scalp. It was the strong move to the downside, the significant level from the higher time frame been broken, so each and every time there was an attempt, it was the possibility to try to jump the pari to the downside. Now, the stops are gonna be very tight, so you have to trade the majors where your spread is very low. That's the point number one. Point number two, if you are going to make the over trade, you are not gonna be the winner over the long run. And number three, where to place the particular proper stop, how to place the stop, and what's the possible target. Usually, at least I'm trying to grab 3R. What would be my stop? Always gonna be 1 pip above the most recent high. If it's a short, it's gonna be 1 pip plus spread. If it's a long, just 1 pip below the low. And I'm targeting 3R. So if my stop is, let's say, 3, 4, 5, I'm targeting at least 9, 12, 15 pips. So let's have a look what we have here in that example, right? We have like 25. So when you are scalping, it's when you are really know what you are doing, if your stop is very tight, all right, you might face the series of stop counts, but in the long run, if you are doing this proper way, those 3R are going to overtake your series of losses very quickly. That's what you have to be aware. Do your own homework, do your own research, do hundreds of tests, try to check if it's suitable for yourself. Please leave the like, leave the comment below, ask questions if there are any. It was my pleasure to be with you. Wish you a great next trading session. Take care, see you around, and goodbye.